Good morning, this is a quick setup video on Bestway's Platinum Series above ground swimming pool. The instructions that come with this are not good. I've set up a few of these above ground pools, so I'm going to take you guys through that process of setting it up real quick. And I've got some good tips and tricks, some things to avoid when you're setting it up, so let's get started. You probably found this video because you're setting up this pool and you just need a little bit of help with the instructions. My channel is normally geared towards Jeeps and Jeep repair and that kind of stuff. If you have a Jeep as well, subscribe. Well, or if you just want to follow along with pool setups, feel free to subscribe. I like to tease that I have the #1 above ground pool Jeep repair YouTube channel on the internet. First off, I get a lot of questions about the capacity and the footprint of the pool. So here's a good map that shows the layout, the exact dimensions. So if you want to pause your video here, you can check that out. One of the most important parts is picking the location where you're going to put the pool. You want to make sure that you get the ground absolutely level because you only get one shot at that. If one side is a few inches higher than the other, it's really going to reflect in the level of the pool water at the top of your pool. So spend quite a bit of time getting your ground level. You can use a laser level or a standard level. A 2x4 is also very useful in getting things nice and even. They don't recommend setting these pools up on sand because the sand will wash away from underneath it, nor do they recommend putting it on gravel because standard gravel can actually have sharp edges. This is pea gravel that I'm using. It's pretty smooth, but I still recommend putting down some landscape fabric just to make sure you have a nice little layer of protection there. All right, let's open everything up and lay all the pieces out. It says don't open with a box cutter, but if you do, just be very careful that you don't cut your pool. All right, we've got all our parts laid out. Got our filter here. Up here is our solar heater, our cover, the inlet and outlet, and all of our parts to the frame of the pool and the pool liner itself. And the first step, we're gonna start by laying out the liner exactly where we want it. Alrighty, I've got it laid out nice and straight so the sides are all even. And with mine, I put the inlet and outlet of the pool towards the backside because I want the filter and everything on the backside. It's not the best for the solar heater. I do set it on that little ridge back there. Not the best for solar heating, but it's how I want to set this up. Next, we're going to set up the frame of the pool. We're going to start with 1A and 3 Bs on each side. So we have A, B, 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 and it doesn't really matter which side the A's are on as long as the A poles on the frame are on the same side. So A, and then B, 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 B. And these guys all just snap together and then we'll slide it in the rim of the top of the pool. And a little pro tip when you're sliding this section in, make sure these large holes are pointed kind of in the direction of where these openings are, because that's where our side pulls are going to go for the supports. All right, now we're going to take 4 of these C supports on each side, and then each one of these C supports are just going to slide into the pockets around the rim on the ends. Now we can set up the corners. We have F and E. The difference between F and E, you can see how the slots on F have just a wider opening. So the F joints are going to go right on the ends of our long run on each side. And then we get 3 joint E's on each side to finish it off. Now we can get the feet on the ends of these poles and set the sides up. There are 5 of these for each side. And there's a little strap here. It goes under the strap and snaps in place. Now we're going to take 4 of these U-joint supports on each side, put it through the little tail here, and then up into the top rim. 4 of those on each side. And be sure to note that the poles on the ends, the straight poles, go underneath that strap, but those U-shaped supports do not go under the strap. Now at this point, we can actually start filling it up, but there's some essential things you have to do while it's filling. Also, you're really going to want to buy yourself a good brush to scrape the sides with, the algae, that kind of stuff. I have these linked in the description below, a few essential pool items that you really need. Highly, highly recommend this. You're going to want this to get in there and just help clean up your pool. Check that out in the description below. While the pool is filling up, we're going to want to come around to the supports on all the sides. These U-shaped ones, we're going to want to be pulling them out, making sure that they're tight. Also checking the legs on these straight guys, making sure that they're not stuck and kicked in close, that they're free and pulled back, able to sit on the ground nicely. If your ground is soft, if the soil gets wet and it starts to get squishy, this is pretty firm with my gravel there. If it gets soft, you're going to want to put like a wood board here. I'll show you on the other side. Back here with my last setup, you can see I have some wood boards down here. That was to help, this goes underneath the gravel there a bit, but it's to help catch the pressure of that. As the pool fills up, it's going to put a lot of pressure on that right there, and that'll sink into the ground, kind of warping the sides, making the pool dip down. So if you're on soft soil, put bricks or wood or something underneath those supports. But if you end up doing that, you have to make sure that you dig those supports into the ground. You can't have the base of those U braces up above the level of the pool, because that'll also cause the pool to bow in. So you have to have everything level. Dig those supports into the ground. As soon as you start filling it up, you're going to want to get inside your pool and start kicking the sides out, getting all the wrinkles out. If you let it get an inch or two of water in it, it's going to be too late. You're not going to be able to move the bottom of the pool at all. So immediately when you start filling it, start straightening out the bottom. The pool is filling up nicely, so now we can come around to the back side here, and I'm going to set up the solar heater and filter. I'm going to go ahead and set it all up. I'm going to show you guys a few key features as I go along, but there will be a more detailed video on the filter setup in the description below. Here I'm working on the return. This is port A. When you are putting all these things together, you need to make sure that all these joints have a rubber gasket like that, or an O-ring on it where the hose hooks on here. Wherever you have two pieces of plastic mating up against each other, you need those rubber pieces to help make a watertight seal. When you're filling up the filter here, there's a minimum and maximum line. You got to get your sand in between those two lines, and it can't be just any sand. It has to be pool filter sand. Alrighty, we got the filter and the solar heater all set up. Let me walk you through all these parts real quick. So on the back side, we have these two ports. They're both labeled B, and those are both outputs on the inside of the pool. You put a little filter on there, and then two of the clear hoses with clamps, and there's a little O-ring underneath there, down here to this T, and then from that T over to our filter. Then the top of the pump goes up to the top of the filter. The back side of the filter, this is labeled D. That's your like purge valve or purge port. And then port A here comes over to our solar blanket, our solar heater. And I had to switch this white hose around. I initially had it hooked up wrong, so the white hose goes up to the return, which is labeled A. And if you want a more detailed video on setting up the pump and the filter and all the settings on the filter, I have a video of that linked in the description below as well. So now we're just waiting for the pool to fill up, which can actually take hours depending on the flow, how many hoses you have going into it. It can take quite a while. It's the next day. The pool is filled and ready to go. It took about 8 hours to fill it. Be sure to check out the links in the description below for some must-have items. Definitely get yourself a brush. You're gonna want that. Pool shock, chlorine floats, all the essentials you need for your pool. And if you want a more detailed explanation of all the functions of your filter, be sure to check out the video I have linked in the description below. And if you have a question, leave a comment below. I'll try to answer what I can, or another viewer maybe. Thank you guys so much. Have a good day.